Welcome to Alimentary, the podcast series where you'll not only learn about your amazing body, how it works, and of course, why nutrition is so important, but also pick up some simple recipes, lifestyle tips, and tweaks to support you to influence your health in a positive way. Are you suffering from frequent colds and infections? Do you find that your rings are difficult to get on and off your fingers because they're swollen? Do you feel generally tired for no apparent reason? Well, these symptoms may be signs that your lymphatic system, that is your inner drainage system, needs some support. And the good news is that there are some simple things which we can do every day to support this really crucial function in our body. Now, what we're talking about in this episode are some tips for self-care, which support our lymphatic system. But of course, if you have any persistent, unexplained symptoms, always talk to your GP and don't diagnose yourself. Now, a while ago, I had a conversation on this very subject with my good friend Michelle Hutton from Aura Therapies, and we recorded it on Zoom for our clients. Michelle is an amazing therapist and she has many tools in her arsenal, from reflexology, acupressure, sports therapy and rehabilitation, massage, cupping, dry needling, and massage for lymphatic drainage. Now, during this podcast, Michelle demonstrates some methods for draining lymph. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see that if you're listening. So I've included a link to a video of her doing these demonstrations in the show notes. So I'm delighted to share this chat with you now. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Lynn, and for inviting me to have this conversation about this amazing subject.
So I guess we could start off by maybe talking about what it is and maybe explaining a little bit about what it is. And I'm going to share a little diagram here, Michelle, and you might take us through exactly what it is.
Of course, what is this lymphatic system? And as we can see by the image there, it's a network of vessels and nodes and organs that form a central part of the body's defense against illness and injury. It collects and transports foreign materials, bacteria, viruses, debris, and dead cells through the lymph vessels, and they're transported then into these lymph nodes where they're filtered. The lymph vessels also drain excess fluid from our body's tissues, and they form a fluid called lymph, which carries substances such as cholesterol, fat-soluble vitamins from the gastrointestinal tract back into the bloodstream. So it filters out the debris and then it keeps the good stuff.
Brilliant. So actually, it's hugely important for our immune system, our immune cells. Those lymphocytes are all made in the lymph nodes.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And when our lymphatic system is compromised, is sluggish, it slows us down. So it compromises our immune system. And when we're compromised, lymphatic congestion occurs and it contributes to autoimmune conditions.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the bodily fluid, managing our bodily fluid. So actually, if we're experiencing a lot of fluid retention, that's another sign that our lymphatic system isn't flowing properly. So that swelling can occur because of a trauma or an injury, really, as well, Michelle, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. And stress would be a big factor as well. Yeah. So when we look at our lifestyles now, stresses are a big factor. So to handle our stress, to look to our diet as well. So too much processed food as well will have an effect on the lymphatic system, because it has to work harder to break down. And injuries, so surgeries also, say post-surgery or pre-surgery and post-surgery is a great time to have lymphatic drainage massage. Trauma in our life also that affects us can slow down this lymphatic system.
So obviously it supports the immune system, it manages our bodily fluids, And a third thing that you mentioned as well there was the transportation of the fatty acids. So fats are hugely important in our diet. We need them to absorb our vitamins A, D, E, and K. And then the fatty acid component is also really important. So what happens is that the lymph delivers that to our cells, the fatty acids, and the fatty acids are needed then by the cells for energy, for repair, and also to help fight infections as well. So 3 really, really important functions. In terms then of how they can become congested, so we've mentioned like stress, sedentary lifestyles I think would be another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so obviously injury, nutrients deficiency. So I mean, there are many things that can actually, I think in our modern lifestyle, most of us, when you consider all of those ways in which it can become congested, I think most of us are going to, experience it at some stage in our lives, really, aren't we?
Absolutely. And even something as simple as, the clothes that we choose to wear, with us ladies, if our bras are too small, this can stop lymphatic movement, correct movement around the breast area and the back area. Let's get good fitting bras, of the correct size, and not to wear them in bed at night. Very important as well. Yeah. And the same with our other undergarments as well. Have them nice and loose. Go for a size bigger in your pants. Why not?
Be comfortable and make sure that lymph is flowing. So that's something that you mightn't actually consider, but any way that you constrict it, because it's so close to the skin. So any way that you constrict it, particularly at night, would actually harm the functioning of it. So I suppose then in terms of there's many symptoms. So we've mentioned a few. Swelling, if you're getting frequent colds and infections. Hormone imbalances can also be connected to poor lymphatic flow. So things like cellulite and breast swelling. Yeah. So with the cellulite, for example, I think it's quite interesting when you connect it to the hormone imbalances, because either declining estrogen or estrogen dominance can actually impact the look of cellulite. So cellulite is perfectly normal. We all have a little bit of it. What you should just pay attention to is if it actually gets a lot worse, it can mean that your lymphatic flow needs some support. So for example, with declining estrogen, that impacts our blood vessel walls. And so that is going to mean that you can build, the bad cholesterol can build up more easily. Estrogen dominance means that we store fat more easily. So either way, the look of your cellulite can become more pronounced. If our lymphatic flow is functioning properly, then we're delivering more nutrients to our cells. And just making our cells works better, makes our tissue works better, makes our organs work better, and can contribute to supporting your hormone balance. So hugely important to deliver those nutrients and oxygen to your cells and make sure that your circulation is working well.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah. So when we look at bloating, the water, fluid retention, breast swelling, especially during our cycle, dry, itchy skin, weight gain, swollen hands, feet, we've already spoken about. If we have chronic sinusitis, if we suffer with ear infections regularly, and we know when we go to the doctor, the first thing you just, I'm just not feeling well, and he goes to your glands and he gives them a little feel, and that's what he's feeling for is the lymph nodes and any congestion there that would indicate to him, could be infection. Skin problem, cellulite that you've spoken about.
I know, and that's the thing, is everybody wants to support their immune system even more so now, with the pandemic. And this is actually a really important part of, supporting the immune system, is supporting the lymph flow. And very, easy to do. I mean, we have some good tips now to share with people, and they're quite easy to build into your day, I think. There are definitely some of them that people can pick up on. And the first one is, I know we both talk to people about breathing, fairly basic, but there are definitely certain types. I think it's something we don't pay enough attention to, and with busy lifestyles, we tend to be shallow breathing a lot of the time. So diaphragmatic breathing is really helpful for many things, but including your lymphatic flow. So diaphragmatic breathing is also called belly breathing. So when someone tells us to take a deep breath, oftentimes we can go like this and we kind of fill up this part of our chest, you know, but that's actually not filling up the lower part of our lungs. So if you take a really deep breath in and focus on pushing out your belly, you're actually getting more of that good oxygen in to pass on to your cells. So you breathe in and push out your belly and do that deeply and slowly. And then when you're breathing out, and you breathe in through your nose, and when you're breathing out, you breathe out through your mouth. And a big total exhale, which is good for a lot of things, the vagus nerve, you know, rest and digest and everything. But I think, Michelle, in terms of the lymphatic system, what that does is like a pump action. You know, you mentioned that there's no pump for the lymph system the way there is for the blood system. So I presume that that's how it helps the flow, is that it's that pump in the thoracic part of your chest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The lymphatic system has no pump. So of course, when we breathe up and out, and the lymph is moved by muscle movement and skeletal movement. So of course, when we breathe up, it's a drawing up, it's a pumping up, and it helps to keep this pumping freely, especially when we use the diaphragm, the skeletal muscle with the diaphragmatic muscles, all aid in that movement. Absolutely, yes.
So 5 minutes of that a day now can be really useful. And actually, if you lie down on the floor and put your feet up against the wall while you're doing that, because when you start doing the belly breathing first, it can help to be lying down when you try to do it first, because it feels a little bit counterintuitive, you know. So lying down can help, but lying down with your feet up against the wall. So I presume again that's just helping that whole gravity issue that the flow has.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
And then of course, hydration, because our lymph is 96% water. So obviously if you're hydrated, that's going to help the lymph flow, and being dehydrated is going to really hamper getting rid of those toxins, you know, eliminating toxins, you know, and it just causes that congestion. And so that's a simple thing. Obviously your 6 to 8 glasses of water a day or herbal teas are going to help that. And Michelle, then there's the dry brushing that you mentioned earlier as well.
Yes. Again, a very simple and very effective way to help to speed up the lymph flow. So these brushes are you can get them in any of the chemists now. Some you'll just real fancy ones you can slide the top off and just have the hand brushing one, which is really, really effective. The long, and then pop it back onto the long handle to reach then your back, above and across. But there is a specific flow of lymph as well, especially if we are prone to having swollen limbs, that we will try not to brush into that particular area. And very simply and very gently, when we think of the lymph vessels, they are just below the skin, between the dermis and the epidermis. So lightly does it, and anything heavier than a €2 coin can actually break lymph vessels. Now they will repair within 24 hours. So something like deep tissue massage can break the lymph vessels.
Okay.
So it would be counterintuitive. So lymphatic drainage massage is the most gentle massage that you will ever experience, with a pumping action as well to aid that lymph flow, to speed it up. It's all about keeping it moving, especially when we have the stresses, when we have had surgery, if our diet hasn't been great, but now we are, and we want to start improving with the exercise, with the breaths, with the dry brushing, that we have to speed it up if it has been sluggish. Let's speed. So we can see by the diagram the direction that the lymph flows and into these nodes. We have them all over our body. Here, just beside the ears, down subclavicular nodes, the main important dumping grounds. These are the nodes that everything from the body dumps into. So when we brush, we're brushing into that direction of the nodes to move the lymph into these nodes. So left and right, the directions are the same, but the dumping of the lymph is quite different. When we think of the right side of the body, it takes from underneath the diaphragm, the right arm, and the right side of the head, brain, and neck, and dumps into the right side. The left side of the body takes the right lower limb and all of the left side into that left subclavicular node.
Okay, so it's a lot busier.
It is a lot busier. It's amazing that people will say, oh, this pain, it's all my left side. And of course, our left side is doing a lot more of the work. And maybe this is why. But body brushing, fantastic. Will take a few minutes to do, but very quickly on dry skin.
So before your shower?
Before the shower, yes.
Okay.
And once we get used to it, it's like brushing our teeth. It's something that, you know, we can add into our life quite easily.
Exactly. And then, so you have mentioned there about, say, the subclavicular nodes, you know, things that you can maybe do in the shower as well, you know, so your morning routine, you might start off with I mean, I presume once you get used to doing the dry brushing, it probably take a few minutes to get used to the motion and the direction and everything. But over time, it's a minute or two before your shower.
Yes, we get this lovely erythema, a little reddening of the skin, which is increasing circulation, increasing blood flow, increasing lymphatic flow. So then when we get into the shower, we can, again, just an extra minute of your time to do, to pump these subclavicular nodes to hook in underneath the collarbone, the clavicle, bring our elbows up, and we can, once we bring our elbows up, we can dig in a little bit more. Now, where we have nodes, we can go fairly deep. So use 2 or 3 fingers and pump 5 pumps in 3 different areas, depending on the width. Some people have very wide collarbones, some people have very narrow collarbones. But pump for 5 pumps by 3 times, 15 in total. Then we can move to the axillary nodes if you want to be super good. And again, pump 5 times in 3 different areas. And, you know, and if we want to be super good, we can do inguinal nodes in the groin area. Again, pump 5 times in 3 different areas around that groin crease.
So again, these kind of things that we could build into our day, and just they'll end up just being habit, where we don't even think about them, as like brushing our teeth. We wouldn't leave the house without brushing our teeth, and then super. Now you do a full lymphatic massage, which I had a few weeks ago. So which was great. You just feel well after it. You feel lighter. I have to say it was brilliant. I was asking you how often you should, obviously we should do our daily routines as well, but in terms of then having the full sort of body massage to drain our lymphs, you were saying maybe every quarter, at least once a year anyway.
Yes, change of season.
Obviously, if anyone is, you know, on medication at the moment or has any medical issues, before you make any lifestyle changes, obviously always keep your GP in the loop and talk to your GP. I suppose when it comes to nutrition, there are definitely foods that you can include in your diet. So potassium is good for actually decongesting the nodes. So foods like avocado and bananas and apple cider vinegar would be really good for that. But then there's other food like some nuts, almonds, walnuts, Brazil nuts, cranberries, berries, chia seeds, flax seeds, garlic. You know, they're all actually really good for lymph flow. But the biggest thing that you can actually do is reduce the overload on your system. So obviously reducing processed foods which have too much sugar, too much salt, additives, all of these things which are seen as toxins by the body, so the lymphatic system has to address and deal with for you. So actually reducing the load on your lymphatic system is going to be huge. You know, that's the biggest, that's where you can start, and obviously including then all of those nutritious foods as well. And they're all obviously good for other things, for many other things. Our food is packaged with many nutrients and vitamins, you know, so there'll be other health benefits to including them as well. So yeah, so I think they were, exercise though, Michelle, actually we could,
of course,
mention,
exercise.
Because when you mention the muscles and the skeletal movement.
Yes, this is the only way that the lymphatic system works, is by movement. So get out for that walk. Now, and it doesn't have to be high intensity. the walking, even slow walking, will benefit the lymphatic system. Rebounding, so trampolining, jumping, dancing.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's actually 2 other exercises. I was just looking up. I have a link. I'll put in links to the exercises and everything in the descriptor below the video, because obviously it's important that people do exercises properly. But one of them was to do a breathing squat. So basically where you inhale as you raise your arms, and then you squat down as you exhale, and a belly breath as well. And you do that 20 times. And I presume, Michelle, that is a whole sort of pump action.
Absolutely. Again, of course. And when we rise up, especially against the breath, what is that going to do? It propels its movement upwards.
Yeah. So 20 reps of that, apparently. And then the other one was where you stand flat on the ground and you push yourself up onto your tippy toes. And apparently that helps the nodes behind the calves.
That's correct. The popliteal nodes, yes.
Popliteal nodes, yeah. So again, and 20 reps of that. So I think that was recommended by the Cleveland Clinic. So I'll put that link in the video descriptor as well, just to make sure that you're doing your exercises properly. So I think that there's some really good tips there, Michelle, for people that even if they pick up on one of them, it's going to help.
Absolutely, yes. And, let's just focus on our face. So yes, we know that all of the body has this network of vessels. But if we say suffer headaches, I know migraines have a lot of different origins, but we can help by speeding up the lymph around our brain, around our eyes, the sinuses, the nasal cavities, the frontal sinuses, by just pumping the nodes beside our ears. So each ear has a little mass, a little network of nodes. So we start again by just pumping subclavicular, the main dumping grounds. So we activate these first. So they're pumping away. We then make a V, front and back of the ear, and pump 15 times. Especially, we're working on computers a lot with eye strain. We may retain fluid in the soft tissue around the eyes. Pumping the nodes and then draining. So really it's feather touch above and below, draining into these nodes by the ears, draining out. And we have a chain of vessels around the jaw and chin area, lightly pinch and then stroking up. And if we do this 6 times on each area, and then stroking down, feather strokes left and right down into these subclavicular nodes, and finish as we started with the pumping. Beauticians will work up because they're lifting, they're working tissues, the tissues and the muscles of the jaw. So this is why they lift. Specifically for lymphatic drainage, it's down. Yes, we lift up to get into the nodes, but then it's always down, always down.
Brilliant. Yeah. So again, another simple thing that we can do.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that is really great, Michelle. I've learned so much from you today. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Great to see you. And hopefully we'll catch up again soon. The store cupboard staple for today's episode is garlic, which we mentioned as one of the foods that support our lymphatic system. Now, it's been used for hundreds of years as an ingredient in cooking and also is well known for its potential health benefits. The properties of garlic include being antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, immune boosting, antibacterial, antiviral. It supports detoxification and also promotes the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. So that means that garlic can be anti-aging. It helps to reduce the risk of chronic disease, such as cardiovascular disease and certain cancers. It may provide support against, the common cold and flus and fighting other infections. It also can alleviate asthma and maybe bronchitis as well. It cleanses the liver, or it supports the liver to cleanse and detoxify, and also obviously promoting the growth of the beneficial gut bacteria means that it can contribute to reducing the risk of certain digestive problems. So garlic contains nutrients like manganese, vitamin B6, vitamin C, selenium, and fiber, among others. So all of these properties and nutrients contribute to our overall health and well-being. So once we've bought our garlic and it's in our store cupboard ready to be used, what can we do with it? Well, number one, we can saute it. So we'll say you're making a base for a soup or a casserole or a curry. You can finely chop or mince the garlic and just saute it for 1 to 2 minutes in a little bit of oil and stir it frequently. And you start to get this lovely aroma. So you can use that as a base for your soup, casserole, curry, anything like that, And again, how much you use depends on, whether you really want to be able to taste the garlic or not. So you can use a small amount and it won't really overpower the other flavors. You can also roast garlic. So that's where you would preheat your oven to about 200 degrees or 180 if it's a fan. Cut the top of the whole garlic bulb so that you can see the cloves. Drizzle a little bit of oil and season with some salt and pepper. And roast it for, say, 25-30 minutes. You'll notice that the cloves become soft and then you can squeeze them out of their skin. Now, that mashed garlic is actually a lot sweeter and sort of has a milder flavour than if you saute it. And you can mix that in with maybe mashed potatoes, or you can put it on a bread to make, a garlic bread, or you can use that to mix into your sauces or dips, actually. And finally, you can also use garlic raw. So you can mince or finely crush the garlic cloves to add to sauces and dressings or marinades, to infuse a strong flavor into maybe the meat or the chicken that you're cooking. Now, I would use it in my salad dressings. So I'll put links to those recipes for the salad dressings in the show notes. Actually, salsa is something else that you could put a little bit of garlic into. But raw garlic does have a more intense flavor than when it's cooked. So obviously use it sparingly. And again, if you're worried that you're not mad about the taste of it, just experiment with a little bit at first and make sure that you can, that you adjust it then to suit your tastes. So they're just a few examples of how you can incorporate garlic into your meals. But hopefully there's enough there to encourage you to pop some in your shopping trolley this. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to clarify that the podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional care from a doctor or trained health professional, nor does it constitute medical advice or services if you're in a position to need either. However, if you find it interesting, you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes or sign up for my newsletter on lymphatic nutrition.ie.